Welcome to J is for Justice podcast. If live breaking news and following true crime is your thing, then please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you like what you see in my videos, please consider giving them a thumbs up.
Roberta.
Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome to J is for Justice. My name is Jay, and I'm your host today. And every day you're stuck with me. Hey, Delaney. Hey, everyone in chat. Delaney, you are a blast from the past. We have a beautiful view of the Detroit River while we're waiting for this press conference to start. And we're expecting these former Oxford school board members to spill the beans. In other words, they say that Oxford schools straight up lied and could have prevented this whole thing. And we've watched over the months that they've had, lawsuit after lawsuit, this, that, and the other, civil lawsuit. Parents have complained that the district isn't doing much to keep the kids safe. So there's a lot going on. I'm interested what these members are going to say, though. So we are expected to go live any second. And who we're going to be hearing from is former Oxford School Board president. The president, you guys, Tom Donnelly, and the treasurer, Corey Bailey. They both resigned in September. And now they're speaking out. You think this is from Belle Island? Carrie Mack, welcome to chat, Michigander. Hey, Skittles. Funny, I just watched a video on Skittles last night. And according to this video I watched, Skittles are banned in many countries. And even in California, they're banned. They say in other countries, they are not even fit for consumption. Can you believe that? I am not a personal fan of Skittles, but I was shocked to hear that. So they say that the Skittles is a leading cause of ADHD in children, the dyes in it. So sorry to bust your bubble, Skittles, but that's what I saw yesterday. Yeah, y'all, that's what it said. that they're banned. There was like 10 foods that aren't banned here that are banned there. And it was like Skittles. It was like our bread is way different than how like Europe's bread is. Like their bread, they wouldn't even sell it here. Like that wouldn't, or there. They wouldn't even sell our bread there because of all the additives we put in the bleach causes cancer. Yep. It actually mutilates DNA. The dye in the Skittles. It's your nickname. I know, but it just reminded me of that. I'm like, that's so weird. That I just watched that yesterday. I'm like, oh, there's Skittles. So yes, we are waiting for this. Let me check. See if they're live here. Not yet. This is what we can expect, though.
All right, Kim, thank you. We expect to learn new details this morning from two former Oxford School Board members after the deadly shooting at Oxford High School last year. Tom Donnelly, the former school board president, and Corey Bailey, the former treasurer, are planning a news conference for today. The pair met with victims' families yesterday and also others who were affected by the shooting. Both resigned from their positions this past September. The attorney for these board members are telling us why the details are coming out now, nearly a year after the shootings.
You get teams who come in who are not directly related to the school district, and they take over things like messaging, they take over loss prevention.
The two say that they just could not remain silent any longer. That news conference is scheduled for 1 o'clock this afternoon. We'll carry it live on clickondetroit.com.
All right, and that's where I'm waiting, right here. Clickondetroit.com. Let me refresh just to be sure we're not. Oh, shit.
Recreational drug use among young people is at an all-time high.
Okay, let's go to our TV.
Studies show adolescent drug use can lead to substance use disorder as adults. But there is help. The Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network has prevention, treatment, and recovery programs that reach thousands of young people each year.
15 seconds, guys.
And we offer assistance for loved ones, friends,
15
and families.
seconds, and we're live.
Call us anytime, 24/7 at 800-241-4949. D-WIN. We listen, we care.
Oh, and we're back to the Detroit River. Okay, so it's not live yet. But you're looking at a view of downtown Detroit from Canada. I think that's from Canada. Someone said Belle Isle. I'm not sure. But here we go.
Executed them. A year later, we are frozen in time when it comes to the facts of that time period. So where did our first repeated mantra come from? The counselors who met with the shooter could have gone down two forks. Both were legitimate. He chose suicidal ideation. Regrettably, this brought devastation to our district. How did we get to that conclusion? If a third-party independent review never took place. I still do not know the answer to that question today. And in that counseling office, on the 29th and 30th, were any of the Secret Service Homeland Security threat assessment protocols implemented and used? You see, if a third-party independent review would have occurred, it would have uncovered these failures already. But all we experienced was constant stalling of the independent review process. My next point. Who works for who? I learned months in that the non-district voices were being paid by our insurance company and not the district. Why does that matter? Because over time, there were too many incidents where things were done against the board's interests. For instance, I learned in the month of May something we should have been told by our non-district voices in February. Let me say that again. I learned in the month of May something we should have been told by our non-district voices in February concerning the Oakland County's prosecutor's position on us going ahead with a third-party review. Throughout those months, when I repeatedly shared concerns that our narrative wasn't making any sense to our community, I was told to keep the mantra going. I would repeatedly ask the question, what do you all know that I don't know? And would get the response that I had all the information, but I didn't. All I needed was Ben Johnson to do a press conference and reveal the fact that he could report things that I did not know, things that the district had, things that the district knew, but I did not know. In mid-May, when I finally found out what the prosecutor was thinking about the third-party review, against the recommendation of district council, we began third-party review processes with Guidepost. And immediately, Guidepost began to face obstacles. Roadblocks were put in their path. Slow to get information, struggling to get interviews set up. But the most significant roadblock was in the middle to late July when the district's legal counsel met with the legal counsel of the teachers union and the administration union and convinced them not to participate in the review process. This independent review process was clearly directed by a vote by the board, but it was undercut by our own counsel. So as I said earlier, who works for who? Who's the client? In August, Corey Bailey, who was our treasurer and also our policy committee, a member of the policy committee, began to look deeply into our threat assessment policies and guidelines. He came across a Homeland Security Secret Service threat assessment protocol, which is referenced in our very policies. And I'll say this twice, this document changed everything from my perspective. This document changed everything from my perspective. When am I seeing this document? August. I've never seen it in the months prior. It is a protocol that describes the proper procedures to assess a threat preemptively, not one that's already happened, but preemptively. It assumes that trained counselors, educators, administrators, and resource officers collect markers that lead them as a team to prevent an incident before it happens. What's a marker? Some examples. Grades begin to change suddenly. And by the way, this is that guideline.
There was leakage.
You can do this on a web site and search and just get it. They're trained to look for markers when it comes to a child. You're looking for changes. You're looking for grades that have suddenly begun to plummet. You've looked for attendance that is suddenly going the wrong way. You look for a student who wasn't withdrawn but now is withdrawn and depressed. You look for a student who is getting into scuffles that never got into scuffles, showing signs of violence. You look for students who have experienced loss in their lives recently. You look for homework assignments that lean towards dark things or violent things. You look for the testing poorly on an emotional assessment. And let me pause there for a minute. Oxford school system uses an assessment called SABR. I will spell it for you, S-A-E-B-R. The shooter's class should have taken that assessment in 2020 and 2021. Did we look at them? Did we add the students with concerning scores in a marker system? Is there a marker system that the counselor could see? Other markers, violent writings, drawings, a teacher who keeps bringing concerns about a student to the counseling office. The markers could be self-harm, they could be other harm directed. But one of the things that clearly is stated at the beginning of this document is that the threshold for pulling a team together should be low. It's the team's job to decide whether you have a low or a medium or a high risk factor based on the team's work. The district certainly didn't use it as designed in the months leading up to the shooting. There's no evidence that we've ever used it as it is designed, even though since 2011, the policies and guidelines have been in our system. I met every board member individually to share this document and Corey's and my concern about it. Each member of the board agreed that something should be done. I called a special board meeting to discuss this topic. District council disagreed with Corey's and my assessment. Other board members seemed to agree with the district council. I couldn't in good conscience stay on the board, and I resigned around a week later. I'll leave some reflective thoughts toward the end and introduce to you Corey Bailey.
First off, I would like to echo what Tom said, that yes, we had the opportunity to meet with family members yesterday, and I would again like to publicly say that I am so very sorry for the loss that they suffered last November and every day since. When it comes to student safety in our schools, there are a couple main policies and guidelines that are based on decades of research from top agencies in the country, like the NFPA or the Secret Service or Homeland Security. One policy is in regards to fire drills and emergency situations. The other is managing threat assessments and potentially violent behaviors. One is an all-hands-on-deck, well-run system with training and accountability to ensure its success. The other has the same potential, but it has been ignored far too long. Policy 8420, emergency situations, begins with a bold statement by the Board of Education that says the board is committed to providing a safe learning and work environment. Unfortunately, natural and man-made disasters do occur. Such emergencies are best met by preparedness and planning. I want to say that again. They are best met by preparedness and planning. It clearly defines how many fire drills must be performed each year, when they're to be performed, even the time of day that some must occur. It is the playbook on how to prevent fatalities as it relates to fire emergencies. Each building principal is required to submit their training plans to the deputy superintendent and to every member on their team. It is a systematic approach where many team members are expected to know and be able to carry out their role for the drills and for real-life events in order to be successful. Why do I bring this up when we're here to talk about the shooting November 30th? Because the training and attention given to this policy has been perfected to the level that it has allowed for zero fatalities, or fire-related fatalities, in over 5 decades in the United States. It's quite a contrast to the other playbook regarding threat assessment. In 2004, Policy 8400, School Safety, was adopted, and it was designed to be consistent with the U.S. Secret Service and Department of Homeland Security manual titled Enhancing School Safety Using a Threat Assessment Model, an operational guide for preventing targeted school violence. Tom already showed it to you. It's easily downloaded from the website. I want to say that again. It is an operational guide for preventing targeted school violence. It is a detailed playbook to train teams to identify and prevent school threats. This playbook and model is designed similar to the playbook for preventing fire emergencies and how to manage them when they occur. They are both systematic approaches that require training and accountability for everyone involved. It clearly defines the team members needed. It clearly defines the roles each member plays in the process, beginning at the leadership down to the counselors. It clearly defines the need for frequent training to rehearse various scenarios so the team is prepared for anything. It clearly defines the importance of involving law enforcement early in the process. It clearly defines the importance of training and functioning like a team. And it clearly defines every step of the way from identifying to preventing a threat. Oxford has had this policy and model since 2004, and it has been updated several times over the years, most recently June of 2021, just months prior to the shooting. Since the early days after the shooting, this board had been told over and over that the school had all the policies in place and that our team did everything right, but a bad thing still happened. If that were true, how could the shooting have happened? The board was even provided a report presentation from Secure Educational Consultants where they praised our team and said we have done a remarkable job in developing and executing the extremely comprehensive safety and security plans, and that Oxford Schools currently provides a very safe and secure environment for staff and students. Again, if all of this were true, how would the shooting have happened? Tom and I would later learn that this report was not based on a complete investigation. It only focused on if we had the policy. It never touched on if we ever implemented or trained people to carry out these policies and procedures. Tom and I would later learn that the school had not put this playbook to practice at any of our buildings. We had been informed that those responsible for safety have raised concerns over the lack of training for quite some time, but those concerns were ignored. In a board meeting earlier this year, I repeated what I had been told and that we had all the policies in place. Our team did everything right, but a bad thing still happened. I had been deceived, and I then passed along what I had been told, only to learn that this could not have been further from the truth. No team would ever be brought together. No leadership nor accountability would ever take place to ensure this policy was implemented at the high school or any building. No frequent training sessions would ever happen. No playbook would ever be followed. In that SEC report that I just showed you, under findings, item number 9 recommends that the school establish and train their threat assessment teams. Something didn't add up. If we already had this in place and our team did everything right, why would we now need to establish and train our teams? They should already be established and they should already be trained. Last week at the board meeting, the administration presented new guidelines and new plans for handling threat assessments moving forward. Again, if we already had this in place and our team did everything right, why is the school presenting this new playbook and new training and a new team? While I was sitting at home watching this presentation, I had these guidelines sitting in front of me. These were adopted March of 2011, and they are the same wording, format, documents that the school is now presenting as the new format. The only thing new is that they're now going to implement them. At the request of a couple diligent community members, I started digging into Policy 8400, but more importantly, that operational manual from the Secret Service. This playbook has many, many detailed steps that make it successful, and I uncovered pages of questions and concerns that I brought to Tom, who then took it to each board member individually. Each board member was equally concerned and wanted action to take place. As Tom said, we called for a special board meeting to get those answers. And if those answers were true, then we had several people in the school that should immediately be held accountable. I want to be clear, the board is made up of good people who wanted to do the right thing, but they were convinced by voices outside of our district that they needed to wait, and that coming forward would only bankrupt the district and potentially tear this community apart. It became clear that Tom and I were alone on this island. And our options became clear that we could either we could either go along and stay silent, or we could move along and be a voice for change. If we as board members were ever to show that we were Oxford strong, it was then. Being strong means being able to stand up and face the storms surrounding you and take action. Leaders lead with integrity and ethics. These are qualities that the community saw and elected us to these roles several years ago. Leaving the board was a difficult decision for me because I love this community, but I felt my ability to serve with honor and integrity were gone if I stayed silent. We are elected by the community to represent each and every student, parent, teacher, and staff, and they expect us to act with a level of integrity and ethics. Remaining silent was not being honest or transparent. We promised early in the process that we would be both, and to keep that commitment, we left the board so that we could be here today. The school has several people that do still need to be held accountable, but that is now up to the stakeholders and the incoming board members to take action. Tom and I are speaking out because there are many, many other Oxfords out there that are not taking threat assessment seriously. The state requires fire drills several times per year, but they are silent on requiring the same emphasis on school threat assessment. I believe that Oxford has a moral and ethical obligation to not only learn from their failures, but to use this tragedy as a loud voice to other districts that if you fail to implement policy 8400 like Oxford, then your results will be the same as Oxford. Think of how many other children could be saved if other schools learned from our failures and took action within their own buildings. Oxford said in their last board meeting that they are now taking the steps to take this seriously and will begin to implement the new policies. It is time for every district to do the same. The schools train religiously on fire prevention and fire drills as outlined in the NFPA manuals, and the United States has not had one child fatality since 1958. We have the same detailed model from the Secret Service on how to prevent school violence, but we do nothing with it. And in this country, we seem to see school shootings almost every week in the news. Oxford trained for one policy and had perfect results. Oxford neglected to train for the other policy, and the results were fatal. I pray that every parent in Michigan is watching this today and will go back to their school boards and demand that their schools dust off policy 8400 manual and train with as much passion as they do fire drills. It is our sincere hope and prayer that the 3 newly elected board members will now be able to be an inspiration of change with the current board members and step up and make the needed changes and start being honest and transparent with not just the families of the victims, but the community that elected them to begin with. I truly believe that if Oxford Community Schools had been prepared with policy 8400 these past few years and had actually trained on threat assessment, the situation would have ended November 29th, and the 30th would have just been another day in Oxford. Thank you for your time today.
Tom, you got some more to say? You good? Questions?
Yeah, what makes you angriest about this? So let me just make sure I understand you properly. It sounds like you're saying the district was sloppy by not taking the threat assessment, not training on it, and not taking these so-called markers seriously. Am I understanding? I mean, did I sum up what you...
I think you did, but maybe some meat in there. There's record that some of our employees went outside of the district to get trained on this threat assessment, right? The kind of like mandatory training. What we lack is evidence that that was ever brought back to our buildings, instituted, teams created, and that they practiced and did what you would for like a fire drill and those kinds of things. That's what's declared to be done inside the manual, and it's as if we did some training and got checkbox on some training, but never brought it back to bring it part of a systematic approach to how we deal with potential threats. And yes, that means the markers as well.
So what makes you angry about this? Are you saying that the shooting could have been avoided?
I think that's exactly what Corey said, potentially, right? Because the question is, did we do everything that we could do? Well, it's May, and we realize that there's a document that we hadn't been introduced to in 10 months, and the document's in our own policies. And so when you start to read the document for yourself, you're going, where are we doing that? And that's exactly Corey's point. As he was digging through those, it was clear that we sent people away to get trained and they came back, but never, we don't have any record that we've ever filled out an 8400 form, which is required by the team in any of our schools.
Tom, why not share this information while the two of you were still on the board, and who specifically would tell you not to do that because it would bankrupt the district and tear the community apart?
Being advised by counsel to not get specific on who, because those things might come out in deposition times, and just know that both of us are going to be deposed in the next 2 to 3 weeks, several times. But your original question in front of that, what was it? Please repeat it.
Why not speak up sooner while the two of you were still on the board?
I felt I did that in that meeting, that special meeting, and I felt that I did that as a board president. One of the things that I understood as my responsibility is that I not only am an individual on the board, but I speak for the board. So I have to be careful as the president when I'm in public as to identifying when I'm stating my opinion and when I'm speaking for them. And I thought this was too big to do out in a public session, and that I would resign and then start being able to say things as Tom Donnelly and not confuse the two roles.
Do you feel the public has been lied to with the message that everything was done to keep the kids safe and this still happened?
I believe that as a board, I think I provided evidence that we've been lied to, that information was withheld from us for sometimes months. Understand, when I finally figured it out in May, it wasn't because they told me. It's because I had to go ask questions of people myself, and I called the prosecutor's office myself, and I found out that they sent a memo in the end of February that I never got.
Tom, are you saying on the subject of the independent board review, or having an independent review, that you all wanted to have that done, that the board wanted it done, but it was council who said that you need to go in front of people and say that that's not the way we're going to go? Can you just expound a little bit more on the independent review, making that decision and turning down the attorney general?
One of my best friends is a superintendent that was shooting took place, Tim Throne. And we had a very intimate conversation about how important the third-party review was, and we wanted it to be way beyond just the 29th and 30th, but I won't talk about that. The idea that we were going to be transparent and that we were going to begin that review was a commitment that we made, I believe, in the middle of December. I mean, it was like a week or two after the shooting, and it was like one of the 4 main points that we were committed to, only to find that every time it came up, the can kept getting kicked. It kept getting kicked.
By who?
Well,
That's important. That's a fair question.
it is. And I think I said in my statement, it is the non-district voices in the room.
Legal counsel.
Is that the insurance companies?
Who is that? Who is they?
Yeah, I have some concerns about this. These fellows are going to be deposed. These questions will be asked. I think it is, Paula, a fair question. And I think that most of you know that when a tragedy like this occurs, the first group out is usually an insurance company. And they take over the messaging. It happened, we saw it at Michigan State.
Are they the they? Because I mean, it's very ubiquitous to say they. Who is they? Who said don't talk? That's a fair question. They may be deposed. You're holding a news conference.
Sure.
And so you're telling a bunch of reporters they. Who is the ubiquitous they?
Great question, Paul, and here's the problem. There are issues of privilege during those kinds of communications, and who can assert the privilege and who can waive the privilege is going to be an issue in this case that I think Judge Chabot is likely to have to resolve. It's not clear to me that Mr. Donnelly or Mr. Bailey can waive the attorney-client privilege. So if the attorney said something to them, can they discuss it, or is that the school board's privilege? And I think that's going to have to be worked out in the courtroom. I understand your frustration with it. It's a fair question. It's just why I'm here, and I'm not going to let them get into who they think the theys are. That's my job.
But there's some confusion here as to appreciating hindsight being what it is.
Sure.
If there were members of the board and administration that wanted to open things up, but yet legal counsel advises otherwise, why didn't they just say, legal counsel be damned, this is what we're going to do?
I'm going to take that question. That's a fair question. But a board, the school board, I've spent 14 years on school boards in this state. A board does not speak by any one person. It speaks by a vote of the majority. And therefore, since no vote was taken, one could argue with hindsight, maybe somebody should have brought that motion, right? They didn't, so no vote was taken. And that's why they didn't decide to simply override what anybody else may or may not have said.
What was the prosecutor's position on all of this? If you could kind of explain that a little bit more. You came to find out in May that there was something that the prosecutor's office had said or not.
You want me to handle it, or you want to contribute?
Sure. Later. Can you kind of...
Sure, and I think that I want to tie that into your original question. As Corey mentioned, there were concerned parents and community members that started sharing information with us. And I can tell you that there was a meeting, it was a first meeting where a bunch of young people came to talk about the temporary memorial. And I heard a woman scream in the background, "You're lying." And I don't lie. And so now I need to know what she knows that I don't know, and how that all fits. Lying about the third-party review, lying about why we're not getting it done. You can go back to the videos. What I was told and what I stated was that because the prosecutor has all of our servers and the prosecutor has all this information and the prosecutor's trying two parents in something that's never been tried before, we can't start the third-party review. But as I told that to the community in March and April, they progressively got angrier and angry with me.
Who's they?
The community. I could sense it. And again, not just Tom, we disagree with you, you're lying. And hence I'm saying, what do they know that I don't know? Someone said to me in an email, "Have you seen the video? Have you talked to the prosecutor?" I said, "No, I didn't know that I could." So I picked up the phone and called the office. A gentleman at the prosecutor's office. I say to him, "Why are you doing what you're doing? I'm saying what I'm supposed to say, but every time you kick me in the teeth." He goes, "Tom, why are you doing what you're doing? Every time I say what I'm supposed to say, you kick me in the teeth." And then he says to me after a pause, "Did you not get our message at the end of February? We thought you were just being a jerk." I said, "What memo? What message?" We clearly sent a message and we had a conversation. Telling your counsel to tell the board to stop using the prosecutor and the prosecution as a reason not to do it. For 2 months. That's why I said that's the largest example of putting a roadblock for 2 months. I didn't realize. Someone then finally sent me the March 4th email that went out to all the families. There's families on the prosecutor has this email blast that goes out. Not one board member's on it. And she quotes a part of the letter that I should have gotten, telling the community that I sent this to the districts, and that was it. You'll notice that within 1 week we have a special meeting. We hired Varnum as an attorney firm. You'll see that we started a third-party review with Guidepost within 14 days. You'll see that we were different after we began to learn that truth.
Question for Corey. If you can step to the podium.
Yep.
Whose responsibility was it to implement that threat assessment? As far as you know, and why was it not done?
The way a school board works is the school board creates policy, they adopt policy. It is then up to the superintendent to delegate it to their teams, all the way down to the principals and the employees to implement.
So this is a Tim Throne miss. I know he's your best friend, but this is a Tim Throne miss, is what you're saying.
The board only has one employee, and that is the superintendent.
So this is a Tim Throne miss for not implementing the threat assessment, yes?
Paul, I think that if you look at, there are two sets of policies out there. There's the board policy, and then there's the administrative policy. You can just get on the Oxford School District website and download both. And what you'll see in there is an outline of who is responsible for each and every step
I get
of
that.
it.
Gentlemen, please, step to the mic. You're giving this news conference. So who's responsible? It's a fair question, another fair question.
It's a very fair statement, and again, our employee is given the policy to create and use this model. Then his team takes care of the guidelines and implements it. So yes, it was up to the superintendent to enable that from us, and then it was up to his team to implement it from him.
When it comes to responsibility, and I've asked Ben this question because teachers are obviously being litigated and sued. Teachers that reported drawings, behaviors up the chain. His contention, paraphrasing, is if they see that the results haven't happened in terms of responsiveness from administration in the school, they should have gone to law enforcement themselves. I'm interested in your opinions, appreciating you can't name names or don't want to ahead of depositions, but how far does this responsibility go? Should teachers be also part of those accused of dropping the ball here?
What I can speak to is what I know is that when the teachers saw the drawings and when the teachers saw the concerning things, it was forwarded on. So the teachers reported what they were supposed to.
But to the point of if they see no reaction from higher administration, they should go to law enforcement themselves and thus are culpable also. Do you agree with that? Or, I mean, how far does this go down the line as far as responsibility?
That's not really my area, no. Mine is creating the policy. Again, it's up to the school to implement that policy. So.
Well, can you tell us under this policy, when he was researching bullets, when he was making these drawings, should he have been removed under these policies?
Those are markers that Tom had talked about. Yes, those were identifying markers that had this team been in place and those markers brought to the team, the outcome would have been different.
Are either of you being sued, are either of you involved in any litigation with this?
Not yet.
I just want to be more specific about the moment where you sort of, the conversation, the straw that broke the camel's back. I know that you specifically said there was a meeting. At that meeting, you said what you had to say and then left. Can you talk about the conversation?
No.
Or
Because it was in closed session. Right now, we've been counseled not to be talking about anything that was in closed session, and that meeting was an hour long and 50 minutes.
That meeting, I guess.
It was that meeting. That meeting on that day in September.
And so prior to, which leads me to, there was nothing prior to this, maybe even before the shooting, where you all had concerns that you wanted to approach the board with and the community and
No, ma'am. I mean, actually, you would find that we were getting reports back that our policies were in place, that we're engaged. Recall during this time period, everyone, we spent $1 bazillion putting in security systems, softwares, pre-plan live. We put the life locks on the doors. I mean, we were a district that was physically more secure than any probably school in Michigan. We just didn't know what we didn't know, that we were not trained in this threat assessment and we did not have teams to live it out.
Tom, did you as a board assume that the superintendent had implemented the threat assessment without verifying it and in fact taking place?
Of course, the assumption is that he, and rolling down to the people that he put in responsibility for those things, that they're in place. Because when you're hearing through the policy committee, when you're getting updates on security, but I will tell you in hindsight, I can tell you that in all the meetings I went to about security and safety, I never got one on this threat assessment document. Not once.
It sounds like you weren't even really aware of the threat assessment document until much later.
Until May, until August, when he comes into the coffee shop with 2 copies and we start digging in.
So the board doesn't have any presentation from, you know.
Finish your question. Go ahead.
You know, just throughout board meetings, you know, you don't have any assessment of, I don't know, school resource officer teams, anyone coming to you. This is how the security is in our building. This is how the security is among, you know.
Yes, we do. And when you don't know what you don't know what's not being said to you. Does that make sense? So I'm being told that we have now even a cabinet member who's in charge of security. We raised up a level. We are putting in all this equipment and we're approving it and voting on it. And so we as a board have our chests out thinking we're the safest school there is. In the 6 or 7 years that I was on the board, I don't recall, except for approving language on a policy change, that I ever had a presentation on this Secret Service Homeland Security threat assessment process.
Right. Can I jump in on that? Just hang on. I want to address that a little further. This goes to what I said earlier in my speech. The state puts so much emphasis on fire. They mandate how many fire drills. They mandate. We don't have to wait until a fire breaks out to learn that policies aren't followed, practices aren't done. The state mandates that. We have to go through certain things. We didn't have the same requirements, if you will. So the only way to find out that a policy is not working is when it's broken, like this.
So what should have happened? So in your view, what should have been happening a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago that might change, like you said, November 29th?
Okay. Jim's going to jump in.
Let me step in and help you all out. These are public documents you can obtain. The 8400 policy is on the school website. You can pull it up, you can read it. It spells out what's supposed to work. It's the policy that was first put on the books in 2004, updated in 2011. This is the playbook they keep referring to. Enhancing school safety using a threat assessment model, an operational guide for preventing targeted school violence. You Google this, you can get this entire document. It's a public document. It spells out exactly the questions you're asking. You should read these.
I just want, in your words, what do you think should have happened?
So Paul,
Just sum it up for us.
So summing it up, I think Corey did, when you don't want kids to die in a fire, you create processes and procedures and you make them fire in this hallway, fire in this hallway, and you're making them go through training.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Through training. Your staff and teachers are going through training so that if it happens, you go. We never did that with this policy and guideline. We never, ever did it. And hence, when we needed to implement it, it wasn't there. Someone may have had some training about it, but we never created a team. We never had the team activated. We never practiced the team. We never did drills. And so hence, the very admission that it doesn't even get brought up on the 29th and 30th, there isn't a thought about pulling a team together, is showing an absence of understanding of what it is that's right there in front of your face in our policies and procedures.
Okay, last question.
Other than the threat assessment, have you been told by district council not to reveal anything else while you were on the board?
I'm not going to let him answer what district council said or didn't say to him, okay?
Okay, let me wrap
Nice
it
try,
up.
though, Sonny.
Let me wrap it up with this. You heard these guys allude to this in their statements. We know that the Oakland County prosecutor, Karen McDonald, has formed a committee or a task force to look into threat assessment and school policy. These two gentlemen would like to be on that committee or have a voice in that. You're hearing them say today that maybe this should be mandatory in all school districts. You're saying their message to parents is, go to your own school district, find out if they have this 8400 policy on the books. Are they implementing it? No one should ever take the position, it's never going to happen here. That's the lesson from Oxford. Maybe this needs to be a wider conversation with the governor and the legislature. If it's going to be required, maybe it becomes state law. Maybe this needs to be a national conversation, like the fire drills. Those are national. Maybe that's the times we're living in now. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm not really sure how to feel about that whole thing. I feel like there was a lot of finger pointing, of course, but nonetheless, they're getting this information out there. The part that worries me is the parents' trial. That's what worries me now, is the parents' trial. Because now it's been put off indefinitely. They have asked for their trial to be thrown out, the charges dismissed. And so we're just sitting. It's going to the Supreme Court now. And now, you know, this stuff coming out. But there's a lot of civil lawsuits where the school is named. And I think a lot of people are freaking out. A lot of people are freaking out. So let me come back. Hello, hello. All right, so let me shut down this poll, and then I've got a video to show you guys. Actually, I've got an update for you in the Idaho shooting. But yeah, these former school board members are going to be deposed on this, so we're going to keep following it, see what happens. But apparently they're going to be deposed on this week. But they're claiming the school did nothing to prevent this from happening. And that they should have had, you know, these things in place that they said they did, basically. So it's their word against their word. I mean, and then they didn't want to get specific about what was in those, you know, what exactly they're talking about that they didn't do. You know, that's why I think that reporter was seemingly kind of feisty, because I think, you know, they called this thing, and I didn't do clickbait. That's exactly how it was advertised, was, oh, this is, they were lying. Like, they were really going to, like, put it all out there. And I have to say that I walked away just knowing they didn't follow a protocol. And I think we all already knew that. So really quick, before we wrap this up, I wanted to do this. I have this update. And then we have another update on the victim's dog. the victim's dog rumor. Okay, so the first update, and again, this is the University of Idaho quadruple stabbing that happened on November 13th. So this, according to an eyewitness that was at the food truck, they said that the girls may have ditched a, quote, super nice man who was, quote, trying to help them get home safe. The knife, okay, so then it says the knife attack took place in the early hours with Goncalves and Mogan killed in their beds on the top floor and Kernodle and Chapin on the floor below. And then it says down here, Joe Vido. I mean, is this even real? I can't verify this, okay? So this is according to the Daily Mail. Oh, you guys can't even see it. What the heck? Here, I thought you could see it the whole time. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Let's go to our video player. Joe Vido is this eyewitness. Joe Vido. Now, like I said, I cannot verify the validity of this, but Newsweek republished it. That doesn't really mean much either. But Joe Vido says that he is a local who was at the club that night, at the Corner Club. And he said, quote, a lot of guys were talking to them at the Corner Club. The local claimed Goncalves appeared inebriated, adding, quote, the taller girl with the pink on, she was glass-eyed. I audibly said, ew, out loud. She was just stumbling through. Vido left the club and went outside to the Grub Bus, a popular fast food truck with a friend. Goncalves and Mogan showed up later, along with a man wearing a hoodie who police do not believe was involved in the murders. Vido commented, I saw the guy show up with two of them. The vibe I got from him is that he's super nice. He was trying to help them get home safe. What? Quote, he was funny. He was nice. He was there to make sure they got home safe because they were super drunk. I thought he was a solid guy. Believe me when I tell you that his vibe was not bad. Later, Vido said the two women were picked up in a dark four-door sedan. Describing their collection, he commented, quote, a guy got out and yelled, hurry up. I saw them get in the car and it looked like they just ditched him. Man wearing the hoodie. I said, bro, they're leaving. He said, what the fuck? And I said, sorry, brother. Vido later went to the police and told them everything he had seen. Police do not believe the driver played any role in the murders. At a press conference Thursday, they said they were looking at a connection between the Idaho murders and the unsolved stabbing in Salem, Oregon. And they're saying that is not related. Even though Travis and Jamie Lynn Sh00ting at 3 p.m. were attacked in their bedroom with a knife. Travis was killed. Jamie Lynn survived and had suffered 19 stab wounds. So that is the first little update we got. Joe Vido. I have not seen this name. Dare I Google Joe Vido? I don't know if I really want to. Looks like there's a Joe Vido in Washington State. Headphone Fun Beats by Joel? What The fuck? Joe Vidot still has this offer for a small business. He wasn't mad about the pic. It's his summer 2020 look. What? This is weird. Apparently, this is Joe Vidot then. He must have seen them. And I can't with what the reflection is. I don't even want to know. I'm getting off there. I don't want to know what the reflection was. But does he show his face in these interviews? It says a quick way to make $10,000, give an interview to the Daily Mail. This is some message board for Moscow, I guess. People are talking about chloroform. This guy, Mr. Be Kind, is talking about Vidot. Here's a little bit more. This is what Vidot says. I was just waiting because the grub bus takes forever when a bunch of drunk zombies show up there. He said, noting he was 100% sober. That's when the women showed up with the guy in the hoodie. He says, I saw the hoodie guy show up with two of them. I got the vibe from him that he's super nice. He was trying to get them home safe. Vidot defended the man as a dutiful chaperone who may have had amorous intentions on his mind. He was funny. He was nice. While they were waiting, a bunch of fraternity guys showed up. I was making fun of one of the guys who showed up at the grub bus in short shorts and a tank top, and it was cold. I said, relax, bro. Some of us are single. That made everyone laugh, and then he made a joke. He said people were just chatting and talking, waiting for their food. And then he said a dark four-door sedan showed up. A guy got out and yelled, hurry up. I saw them get in the car, and it looked like they just ditched him. I said, bro, they're leaving. The grub bus cashier had mercy on the two women and handed them food and took it. And I said to the guy, did you just give those girls food without paying? He was like, yeah, they had to go home. We saw Kaylee use her debit card. So yeah, I don't know. This can't be verified at all. But yeah, he goes on to say all of this about them being inebriated. So who knows? Who knows? And now we have another thing over here. Let's see. It says police push back on victim's dog rumor as students return from Thanksgiving. I haven't clicked this yet. So this is the Independent in the UK. So let's see what this is going to tell us. Oh, it's going to be an ad. They have not confirmed whether or not. Okay, I don't have to play this. Okay, so here we go. Kaylee Gonkow's pet dog was found inside the home when the bodies of the 21-year-old Madison Mogan, Zaina Kernoodle, and Ethan Chapin were discovered around midday on the 13th of November. Idaho State Police's Aaron Snell said that officials have not confirmed whether or not the dog was barking at the time of the killings. After internet sleuths speculated on the matter and used it as a benchmark for whether the pet may have known the killer. Officials have been debunking a barrage of online rumors as they seek to reassure the terrified community. That's it about the dog? Oh, here, 5 minutes ago. Here's more. Idaho police have said that whether the murderer targeted one or all of the students is a delicate question that they still can't publicly answer. Aaron Snell said that's part of the ongoing investigation. That's a real delicate question. And when we're able to say that, or if we're able to say that, we'll definitely do that. It's very similar to the whole stalking, right? Potentially, if there was a stalker, that would be someone of extreme interest. You can't lay all your cards out at once. We're trying to find the various potential participants. Various? We're trying to find the various potential participants. What does that mean? Various potential participants. "54 minutes ago, the public has been urged." How do I get rid of this damn thing here? There's no X. The public has been urged to submit tips about any unusual behavior. They want people looking. Oh, they didn't say what time. Okay, so they're saying now that the girls got home at 1:56, Ethan and Xana at 1:45, and the roommates got home at 1. But now it says here that these murders occurred between 3 and 4 a.m. Kaylee Goncalves shared this today. Okay, here we go. Here's the rumors about the dog. Officials are pushing back against rumors which have circled about a dog belonging to one of the murder victims after it was found unharmed at the crime scene. Last week, investigators in Moscow revealed that Kaylee Goncalves' pet dog Murphy was inside the home when the bodies of the 4 victims were discovered around midday. Goncalves shared the dog with her long-term ex-boyfriend. He has been ruled out as a suspect in the killings. Speculation has been swirling online about whether or not the dog was barking at the time of the murders, with internet sleuths using the details of benchmark. Is that the only news? Is that they haven't confirmed whether or not the dog was barking? Okay, so the only information so far confirmed about the dog is that it was in the home when police arrived. His comments come as officials are continuing to come up against online speculation and unfounded rumors. Police blast online rumors as a disservice to victims' families. So that would be, I guess, our latest is that they don't want to give out any information as to tip off this suspect. So we will keep watching the case, guys, and see where this goes this week. I think they had said they were going to do a press conference every Wednesday. So maybe we will get that. And this also is just in breaking news. Breaking news. This is actually to make you smile, because I like to do that. So CNN has officially told Elon Musk to chill. because Elon Musk shared this fake post, and it says CNN, Elon Musk could threaten free speech on Twitter by literally allowing people to speak freely. So Elon's trolling CNN here, and CNN has fired back saying, that isn't us. They're like, look, this headline never appeared on CNN. Be better. CNN is telling someone to be better. Don't you love it? How the tables have turned with the media. So you can check that out on Twitter. It says read the full conversation. But I mean, look at the photo he used. Elon Musk could threaten free speech on Twitter by allowing people to speak freely. Oh, I got to end the poll. Hold on. What a concept, allowing people to speak freely. And rumor has it that he is about to make Twitter a more lucrative site than YouTube and give YouTube some competition. That would be crazy. Who knows? Who knows what the future has in store? But look at Michigan, you guys. Had to share this. It looks downright frigid up in there. So again, is this, this might be from the shooting. That might be a picture from the shooting because I don't think it's snowing there. We were just watching the Detroit River.
You buzzed?
Yeah, the dog walker is very detailed. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I could not agree more on that one. I think I have another thing to show you guys. Hold on. Oh, is HJ still here? HJ, this is for you, if you're here. She is here. Okay. All right, so this is your video. I'm doing a Monday funny for you, just because that's how I roll. Hopefully this will make your day. And I'm going to go over to our TV, and then we're going to dance it out. YouTube is kicking predator catching channels off the platform. Yeah, I know. I heard that. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Just because, I don't know. I think YouTube just doesn't want to be involved with anything with kids, anything with essaying kids. It's a liability, right? So, all right, here we go, guys. Enjoy this video, everybody, especially you, HJ. I know you will. And I will see you guys soon with more true crime. Tomorrow we have Ethan Crumbly. He is going to be in court again for his mandatory weekly or monthly hearing. So, you guys watch for the event for that. And let's watch this cat. It flips out, literally. It literally flips out. When told to. When it says flip, it flips. Watch.
Jack and Florence endured these conditions. But there are few records of casual laborers in the 1940s. And Jack's
Wait for it.
runs cold. There's only one document that can help me.
I've got hold of Jack Greenall's death certificate, and it tells us that he dies in 1950 and that the cause of death is myocardial failure due to an attack of epilepsy. Now, every death certificate tracks a document, but this one is particularly poignant because under occupation, it says Jack is an invalid.
On demand.
With no occupation. And he's only 42 years old. So it's clear that at some point he was no longer able to work, no longer able to support his family. And the only hope you have to have is that
I think she's getting ready to do it again.
2 years after the foundation of the National Health Service, the beginning of the welfare state, you have to hope that Jack and Florence, in Jack's final years, at least had some help from the state.
It's like she's watching soaps.
Unlike the Duffys and the Snewings, the Greenall family didn't have the resources to weather the hard times. And poverty was never...
Come on, give us one more flip. You little shithead.
But one thing all three families had in common was 62 Faulkner Street. The place which provided them...
Oh my God. Why didn't they end that video a long time ago? All right, you guys. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys absolutely tomorrow. Unless something breaks tonight, I'll be back with you. Dance it out. Roberters. And join our Facebook group, guys. Come on over.
I don't give a damn. I don't really care about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. You talk way too much. I have heard enough about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. Damn, damn. I don't give a damn. Damn, damn. I don't give a damn. Damn, damn. I don't give a damn. You wanna be with me. You wanna feel something real, but I'm feeling differently. You're making plans to get to friends, but don't wanna face the fact that I ain't got time for that. Staying up late, sleeping all day, dreaming about Cadillacs. Buying new shoes, hanging by the pool, sipping on Coke and Jack. Calling my phone when you feel alone, but I never call you back.
No offense, but shut your pie hole, lady.